I'm Johnny Massacre and welcome to the Johnny Massacre Show. This is the Tuesday Night Massacre. On tonight's show, all the PS5 and Xbox Series X news, plus movie news including Spider-Man 3 and the latest political roundup of Donald and the Biden teleprompter. So there's quite a lot to get through today, so let's get to it, shall we, ladies and gents? First up, apparently the Xbox Series X is really fucking hot. And I'm not talking metaphorically. I'm talking about physically. It's literally really fucking hot. Someone that was using it said that it gets hot like a fireplace and he burned his fucking hand on it. Which is not very good press for Microsoft. So let's get into this article. Let's unpack this, as they say. VideoGamesChronicle.com. They say, journalist says Xbox Series X can get hot like a fireplace. Early users praise quiet cooling, but express surprise at the amount of heat the console emits. The latest Xbox Series X media impressions have expressed surprise at the amount of heat the console emits, with one journalist even appearing to burn his hand on its storage expansion during a live stream. So that's pretty funny. Apparently they have good cooling systems. Obviously not. The old press releases were a little bit far-fetched, it seems. However, apparently these consoles are fucking quiet. Not just the Xbox Series X, but the PS5 as well. Look at this article on GamesRadar.com. They say, the Xbox Series X design looks far better in person, and it's seriously quiet too. Initial impressions of the Xbox Series X design, after spending a few days with it, towering over everything in my room. And then there's a picture of the Xbox Series X next to a controller. It doesn't look that big. It actually looks kind of decent. It looks like a PC, and I quite like the grille on the top, even though it looks like some kind of weird industrial ashtray. The article says the Xbox Series X looks better in person than it does in pictures. I've had the pre-launch console set up in my lounge for the better part of a week now, and my appreciation for its industrial design has only grown over that time. When Microsoft first unveiled the Xbox Series X design back in December of 2019, the monolithic slab of plastic cut an imposing figure. Sure, it exuded a domineering sense of power and confidence, but that isn't necessarily the vibe my small living room is trying to set. So, what does this mean? Look, Microsoft have sent out the Xbox Series X to a bunch of journalists, so that's why it's getting quite a lot of good press at the moment. I'm not too sure about the Microsoft press, to be honest. It all seems a little bit fishy. It all seems a little bit as if the journalists are in the pockets of Microsoft. They haven't really showed me enough to convince me that they're going to do any better than Sony this time around. What have they done to suggest that? Nothing really. So I think all of this good press at the moment is just Microsoft having a good relationship with the journalists. As far as Japan goes, there was some kind of news in the press about how Microsoft has sold out in Japan for the first time ever. But it didn't say how many have been sold out in Japan, so I think they only probably released a handful there. So the reason why you're not really seeing that much Sony stuff is because Sony hasn't sent out PlayStation 5s to any journalists yet, only in Japan. And they did that recently. They did that a few days ago. So there's a little bit of news trickling out regarding the PS5, and it's similar to the Xbox Series X. It's saying how it's very quiet and it's very big. So over on Inverse.com, they say, Japanese critics say PlayStation 5 is enormous, fast and quiet. Like a big cheetah, ? While Western gaming outlets have yet to experience the PlayStation 5 in hands-on previews, Sony invited a lot of Japanese outlets like Famitsu, 4Gamer and AV Watch to see the console in action and play games like Astro's Playroom and Godfall. Overall, the early impressions for the system are mostly positive, with outlets commending its impressive design, how well it runs games, and how quiet it is compared to the PS5. You have to really question any good press about these consoles because these media outlets want to have the console, and so if they cuss it and say bad things about it, they might jeopardize their relationship with Sony and various games developers, and they might not get games in the future. That's how it works. So don't take this as gospel, is what I'm saying. Interestingly, there is a bit of video and shit available on the PlayStation 5. So why don't we watch a little bit of video together and see if we can get some new information or interesting new stuff. Here we go. It's all going to be in Japanese. So we're looking at a video for anyone who's listening to the podcast and cannot see of some Japanese dude holding the PS5 controller. So there's really not that much new here. We've probably all seen the PS5 controller at this point, but actually seeing it in someone's hand, it gives you a slightly different perspective. You can imagine yourself holding it. And I gotta say, it actually looks fucking good. The pad is really, really nice. I flip-flopped on the PS5 design quite a lot. At first I liked it, and then I hated it. And now I'm kind of warming to it again. My main gripe with it is that it's white. Racist, but no, white actually, that's not racist because everyone hates white people at the moment. But yeah, the PlayStation 5 in white, not sure about that. The console, well, the first one was grey. The rest of them were basically black or very dark grey. And so it just looks a little bit weird with the whiteness. But the pad does look pretty good. There's another video coming up, and this actually shows some gameplay, I believe. And I think the game in question is Godfall. I've got it somewhere here. I was watching it earlier, and to be honest, Godfall, I think it's one of the original titles for PlayStation. And it doesn't really look very impressive. So here is Godfall running on the PS5 being played by some Japanese people. So I gotta be honest, I don't like games like this. I think this started with... God, I've forgotten the fucking name. The game with Kratos. Oh, God of War. So God of War really kicked off this style, which is a third-person perspective. And you're running around with a big weapon, and then you just mash the button to kill stuff. And there really isn't that much skill involved in it. Don't get me wrong, it's not that easy. It's all about timing, but it feels like some kind of weird, glorified rhythm action game. I'd much rather something that was deeper and more technical and a bit more fiddly. I'm just not a fan of these games, and they're very, very popular with the public, I think, because they're quite pick up and play. But then saying that, games like Bloodborne are similar style and they're not that user-friendly, so I can't say that all these games exactly fall into the same trap, but I guess what I'm saying is I just don't really fancy them that much. And this one is one of those games, and it just looks like all of the other ones. It looks really reminiscent of Sekiro on the PS4. And as for the graphics, I want to be blown away, and while they do seem to look better than the PS4, they seem to look a bit crisper. The lighting is a bit more vivid and rich. But it's not really the massive leap that I thought it would be. And it's just another one of these third-person hack and slash games. Really, what is in here that's getting me excited? If the graphics don't blow me away, at least put something in it next gen or something original and new. But there's nothing original and new, and the graphics are not exactly mind-blowing. So that is quite disappointing for me, I have got to say. Other video game stuff, well, there's an article on businessinsider.com that is basically telling people not to buy the next generation consoles. I know some of you watching have already pre-ordered them. I've chatted to you on Instagram, and good for you. But I kind of agree with this article that there's actually no real point in buying one now. Businessinsider.com says there's no reason to buy next-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles this holiday. The bullet points are, this November, next-generation PlayStation and Xbox game consoles are scheduled to launch, so which is worth your $500, with high price tags and minuscule launch lineups. Both Sony's and Microsoft's flagship next-gen game consoles aren't must-buy systems this holiday season. In just a few weeks, new next-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles are scheduled to arrive. The Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, pictured above, are the flagship models of each company's latest game systems. With promises of speedy load times, dazzling visuals, and, most critically of all, new games, both Sony and Microsoft are betting their powerful, expensive new consoles will convince people to drop a whopping $500. But even if you could, should you? The answer for the vast majority of people this holiday season is a resounding no! Here's why you should wait until at least 2021 to buy a next-gen PlayStation or Xbox console. Number one, there are next to no games that can be played on next-gen consoles. Ask most people pre-ordering a PlayStation 5 which game they're most excited for, and it's likely they'll talk about Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Yay, a franchise that Disney's bought. Disney, the destroyer of franchises. Disney, the woke corporation, really political, who've done a nice woke Spider-Man. Can't wait to play that game. It is indeed a major launch game that can be played on the PlayStation 5 on November 12th, and it'll be available the same day for PlayStation 4. Yay, a game made for the PlayStation 4 as well, so it won't really have that many new features, so it can run on the old console, and Sony and Disney can make as much money as possible, and you have a less good game, a worse game. Fuck's sake. The same situation applies to major platform games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, NBA 2K21, and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Yay, loads of sequels, another Assassin's Creed game, a game that was pretty shitty from the first one onwards with a very silly story, another NBA game, another Call of Duty game. Yay. The article says, the one exception, a gorgeous remake of PlayStation 3 game Demon's Souls, will only arrive on the PlayStation 5. And do you know what? I was agreeing with this article until I saw Demon's Souls and I watched it, and you know what? It looks pretty fucking good. This looks like the reason graphics whores will invest in a PlayStation 5. Have a look at this, because I actually really like this. Can you believe it? I like something. So, to all the people listening to the podcast, I will narrate what is going on. We are looking at the famous PlayStation logo. Screen has gone black, and now we're going to be treated some Demon's Souls gameplay. So we are inside what looks like some kind of catacomb, or it could be a castle in the basement. It's a little bit dark, but there's a light shining through from the ceiling. It is running at 60 frames a second, unlike the last game, which is running at 30 frames a second. Why the fuck do games still run at 30 frames a second? I just read an article recently saying how this next gen is all about 60 frames a second, but well, we've already seen plenty of games at 30 frames a second looks shit. This is at 60 frames a second. That means it's super sexy smooth. There's some really nice particle effects, and while the textures are a little bit lackluster, they're not noticeably bad, and everything just seems really nice, smooth, sexy, and shiny. So now we're actually into the gameplay. We've got the protagonist in his medieval suit of armor. It's very gothic. He seems to be traversing what looks like a cemetery, lots of stone and bricks, and there's trees and moss everywhere. You can make out all the individual blades of grass and bracken. And our protagonist is hacking to pieces a bunch of very angry-looking monsters. Lots of smoke effects, and this is what all the games should look like on the next generation consoles. It's funny because Halo over on the Xbox Series X did not look this good. And that's their flagship title. You already know that Microsoft have massively dropped the ball with Halo, which is why they've delayed it at least another year. So I'm loving this. 60 frames a second. It's what I want. It looks good. It looks buttery smooth. Loads of weird little particle effects. Lots of kind of dust floating around. The guy's now going into some kind of castle. He's being assaulted by various enemies. Now he's come into contact with another kind of soldier. There's some nice neon blue glowing effect in the guy's helmet. He just killed him. He's walking over some flames. Lighting effects really nice, pouring through a window above. And I could just imagine myself playing this on launch day and feeling a little bit smug, rather pleased with myself that I've got a new console. It's probably the only game that's going to be coming out for the next gen launch that would make me feel that way. The guys are going up some wooden stairs. So we've got stone, we've got metal, we've got wood, we've got all kinds of textures, all looking very believable. And yes, this is Demon's Souls. Now, the guy is coming to a boss in a minute. He's just shanked a guy with a crossbow. And this boss is really impressive. This was the part that really sold me the game. The scale of the boss and the animation of it and the way it moves is really impressive. It's quite majestic and ugly and terrifying. So the protagonist now appears to be pulling up to the boss room. And here we go. He goes through the weird smoky doors. And here it is. It's a massive, ugly troll type thing wielding a gigantic axe. And the hero is kind of rolling out of the way of his huge swipes of the axe. The enemy has glowing eyes set into his face, 3 of them, horrible yellow stained teeth. He's got a massive chain under his chin, and he's basically killed you within about 5 seconds. Anyways, Demon's Souls gameplay trailer. I haven't seen this. Giant spider. There's a little bit more footage at the end showing some of the better graphics and more interesting scenes. There's a huge boss with a massive shield. Power slam in some hapless victim. Dragons spitting flames with amazing graphics, more great lighting in some very dark looking tunnel. Great particle effects, a burning tree, impaling enemies. This just looks really decent. It's not perfect, it's not true next gen, but it's very impressive nonetheless. I really like that. That does it for me. So Demon's Souls on a PS5 looking pretty good. For me, one of the only reasons to invest in the next gen. Now, what else is going on? Movies are fucked. The movie scene is fucked. The C word has fucked up everything. Every industry known to man is suffering right now. And this is pissing me off because we just need to open everything back up. We need to take Trump's lead and we need to stop pussing around and go out there and fight, in my opinion. Let me show you why the movie scene is fucked. So I went on to screenrant.com. Look how many movies have been delayed. So I'm just going to scroll through. One of the first headlines is Daniel Craig defends No Time to Die release date delay. So No Time to Die is the name of the latest James Bond film, and it has been delayed several times already due to the C word, and now it's delayed until April the 2nd, 2021, spring next year. Is that how long we're all going to be fucked for? I hope not. Other headlines. Escape Room 2 delayed to unset 2021 release date. So if movies delays are analogous to lockdowns and the progress of every other industry in the world under the dark clouds of the C words, then we're all going to be fucked because no one really even knows when these movies are going to come out. James Bond has been pushed back several times, and movies like The Escape Room 2, they don't even know when it's going to release. And I hope that's not the case for other areas, other industries. Other things delayed. Shazam 2 delayed to June 2023. So that's due to the reshuffle of other films due to the C word. The Flash delayed 5 months to November 2022. Everything's fucking getting delayed, even 2 years away. So for whatever reason, the knock-on domino effects of the C word shit is delaying things until 2022. This is not what I want to hear. The Matrix 4 release date moved up 4 months to December 2021. Well, it still seems that shit really isn't happening until midway 2021. Now, this is some horrible news because I love Batman. You know I love Batman. The Batman delayed to March 2022, pushed back from October 2021. Fuck you, Batman does not answer to the C word. And there was one more in here that I saw. MCU Spider-Man 3 has to fix Jamie Foxx's terrible Electro design. Okay, June movie delayed 10 months to October 2021. I was waiting for June. I was waiting for that shit. 10 fucking months. 10 fucking months till the end of next year. Man up. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. There were more. I can't see them now, but you get the idea. So, look, speaking of Spider-Man, there's some news about Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man Homecoming 3. Now, I was kinder to the recent Spider-Man movies than I should have been. With hindsight, they were pretty shit. They were so by the books. They were so unadventurous. They were so nice and politically correct and not very offensive, when the best Spider-Man is Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, the guy who illustrated Spider-Man around the 90s. It's really edgy, the sense of movement in the comics, the muscle-bound heroes, the alpha male shit. That's what it's all about. But now we've gone to this really bland Spider-Man, this really safe Disney Spider-Man, and it's garbage. And I can't remember anything about the last Spider-Man. They're doing another one. And the weird thing is Jamie Foxx is back playing Electro when he played it in the last generation of Spider-Man that everybody's forgotten. That was a terrible movie. Spider-Man is actually my favourite superhero. And the movies have been so bad since the first one. He's gone from my favourite, and now he's been usurped by Batman. Batman has taken over because that's what it's all about. Fucking ripped alpha males kicking ass. Spider-Man, he should be that. Those were the best Spider-Man comics in that vein, but they've turned him into a pussy, basically. So, for some reason, they brought back Jamie Foxx from the terrible last Spider-Man with Electro. So let's read about this, because this is kind of interesting, I guess. So the article says, MCU Spider-Man 3 has to fix Jamie Foxx's terrible Electro design. Jamie Foxx will be reprising his role as Electro in the upcoming MCU movie Spider-Man Homecoming 3, but Marvel needs to give him a makeover. So we've got a picture of Jamie Foxx in the last Spider-Man movie he was in when he played Electro, and he looks like some kind of veiny gummy bear. The article says, with Jamie Foxx set to reprise his role as Max Dillon, aka Electro in Spider-Man Homecoming 3, it would be surprising if his character isn't redesigned from the ground up. One of the many problems with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was Electro's design. In the movie, Electro's look was nothing more than a blue glowing man wearing a black hoodie, who later changes into a black suit with no real defining features. While the visual effects artist did an excellent job bringing the CGI-heavy supervillain to life, the concept was missing something from the start. So yeah, no, he did look a little bit shit, did Jamie Foxx in that movie. What did Electro originally look like? Well, check this out. He looks like some kind of weird Halloween abomination. He looks a little bit friendly. He's all green and yellow and he's got a really zigzaggy hat. But believe me, if he comes face to face with you, he's going to fuck you up, mate. Now we're going to go into politics. We're going to end the show with a bit of politics because I just got to do it. Even though I don't want to do it, but I got to do it. So what's going on? Trump is back in the White House. I saw some video on Instagram of him walking across the majestic White House lawn. The White House really is a beautiful piece of architecture, wouldn't you say? And the lawn is so fucking nice. British people, we're well famous for our lawns. We like to have a little tea and scones in the fucking garden, mate. So we trim the lawn and make it all prim and proper, mate. But the fucking White House, they know what they're doing. They're better than our fucking English countrymen, mate. So that was rather impressive. So let's kind of get to this news about Trump getting out of hospital and back in the White House. As you can imagine, CNN and the left are going fucking mad about everything and over-exaggerating. I'm going to take you over to CNN. So let's see what's going on. CNN, one of their main headlines is, Biden expands lead over Trump after contentious debate and president's COVID diagnosis. They say Joe Biden's advantage over President Trump has expanded and the former president now holds his widest lead of the cycle with less than a month remaining before Election Day, according to a new nationwide CNN poll conducted by SSRS. We can't really trust CNN because they're just a pure propaganda outlet and they read like something out of an Orwellian novel. And their own poll probably is biased because they want Trump to go away so badly. They're probably only going to interview blue, rainbow-headed nonces. But anyways, the article continues. Among likely voters, 57% say they back Biden and 41% Trump in the poll that was conducted entirely after the first debate and mostly after the president's coronavirus infection was made public. Regardless of Biden's national lead, the race for the White House will ultimately come down to a handful of swing states that will drive the outcome in the Electoral College. The former vice president leads in several of those critical battlegrounds, but by more narrow margins than his national advantage. A poll is not a prediction of how the election will ultimately turn out, but instead is a snapshot of the race as it currently stands. So what they're talking about is how each state has their votes totaled and they're weighted. So it doesn't matter if you win the popular vote, it's about how many votes you get across all the states combined. And CNN is saying when it comes down to that, it's a lot narrower than people would say. So they're saying that these polls, even their own polls, are not necessarily indicative of what's going to happen. Look, I've been reading the comments that you've been leaving. Some people, they're saying, I'm on the fence, I'm not hardcore enough, I've got to be more radical. I don't know, mate. They say I'm pretty radical on the other side, but it's clear that there are some dyed-in-the-wool Trump supporters who are just convinced he's going to win. And what the fuck are you talking about? Trump's going to win no matter what. I do admire your belief. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's going to be much closer this time around. That's just my feeling. It's just my feeling. But I really don't know because the media campaign against Trump, I've never seen a media campaign against a president like this. It is relentless. It's across the board. Hollywood and sports and entertainment at large, everyone has doubled down against Trump. And I wonder how much of an effect that's going to have. Hey, all of that lot, they were also against Trump last time around and Trump actually smashed it. So who's to say? Maybe it's not going to make a difference. Maybe those pretentious wanker celebrities are actually just turning people off. There could be a huge silent majority. It is now more difficult than ever to say that you support Trump. If you do that, people are going to get angry with you. Believe me, it is true. It's happened to me many times. I've had so many arguments with people who cannot accept the fact that I think differently to them, because wrong think is the flavor of the last 4 years, isn't it? And so maybe the silent majority is even more silent than ever. And come election day, they're all going to rise out of the ashes like some kind of majestic phoenix. Majestic, that is the word of the day. It means impressively large. And yes, so that's what's going on at the moment in regards to polling, according to CNN. So Trump, Biden, who's going to win? CNN is saying Biden is smashing it in the polls, but do the polls really matter? Time will tell. So moving on. Speaking of Trump, walking across that lovely White House lawn, he actually gave a nice little interviews, or he made his first public appearance and public speech since he left hospital. And these are the words that Donald Trump had for everyone. And I fucking love this. Listen to this.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to...
He's fucking right. He's fucking right. I love the way that Trump just speaks like a regular person here. He just speaks like a regular person. That's how a lot of my mates speak. That's what people are saying on the streets. As far as I know, don't be afraid of it, because it's really not that dangerous, in my opinion. How many people do you know that have died of coronavirus? I looked at the stats. It's far from the Black Plague. It's a tiny bit worse than the flu. And I just think Trump is right here. He's speaking like the people are speaking, and it's refreshing to hear. And people are obviously going to lose their shit over it. They're going to say, oh, Trump is downplaying the virus and this, that, and the third. But really, he's actually just speaking like regular people think. And this just exposes the massive disconnect between the regular people and the media at large, who are trying to create some doomsday scenario that actually really benefits them and sells their papers and generates a lot of clicks. So I like the way Trump is speaking here. Don't let it dominate you. Something like this shouldn't dominate you. I was reading something about tuberculosis or some diseases and shit that swept through Japanese factories around the time of the Second World War. People got on with it back then. There was massive loss of life, not even comparable to today, way more loss of life, and people just got on with it. Today, by today's standards, today's standards, we've got, like Trump says, much better medical facilities. People kind of know what they're doing generally. And so I think in light of all of that, we need to go out there and fight. Back in the day, people were fucking going over the trenches, mate. People were storming the beaches of Normandy, giving up their lives. All you have to do is fucking go outside and keep the economy ticking. It's not that much to ask. I think we should be going out there and fighting, and I don't think we should let the virus dominate us like Trump is saying. Trump continues.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good. And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives.
Don't let it take over your lives, like the media are trying to take over your lives, like some states in America are trying to take over your lives with unfair lockdowns. My Japanese mate over in LA, she's fucked. She can't get her business together because of overbearing lockdowns. Their states are letting the coronavirus dominate the people against their will. Don't let it dominate you if you don't have to. In Japan, where I'm at, I don't have to wear a mask. I don't fucking wear one. I don't want to wear a fucking mask. Why would I want to have that anxiety 24/7 and remind myself I'm going to fucking catch something horrible? I would rather, my philosophy is this, and it's the same with crossing a road. I'm a little bit haphazard about it, but I would rather have a very small, albeit real chance of getting hurt and dying, but have no anxiety and not worry about anything, than having no chance of getting hurt or killed, but having loads of anxiety, always worrying about stuff. That's my choice. And that's something that people have just forgotten. with this C word, coronavirus shit. It just shows you how privileged and lucky we are today. Something like the coronavirus in our big city bubbles, our comfort zones, is going to terrify the shit out of us. We don't know hardship. All we've got is fucking Amazon, Apple, and an easy life. And so there's too much comfort. A little bit of chaos is therefore exaggerated and magnified, and it's blown out of all proportion. And I think Trump is completely right here in what he's saying.
Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front.
Yes.
As a leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Front, I led. Nope.
You got to lead like Trump. You've got to get out there like Trump. You've got to go outside. You've got to kickstart the economy. You've got to get shit moving again. You've got to prove an example to the people around you, to the kids. Don't let this dominate your lives. The kids don't even get sick from this. Basically, no kids are getting sick, a tiny fraction of them. So you've got to show them it's not right to cover your face and just be repressed the whole fucking time. You've got to get back to normal, like Trump is saying, in my opinion.
Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did.
Exactly.
And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know.
Exactly. He's not saying anything strange or anything new. He knows there's a danger, but he got out there. And the danger is very small. And maybe I like the way he said, maybe I'm immune. That's how your mates would talk. And people are going to ridicule him for that. And they can't believe what they're hearing. But do you know why they can't believe what they're hearing? Because for the first time ever, you've got a politician that isn't just all about the teleprompter. He actually speaks from his heart, in my opinion. And that is so refreshing. Why would you imagine it with someone like Biden up there? He's just going to say all the rote ideological talking points. Well, yes, everyone should just stay home, stay safe. We'll combat this together. It's going to be around for a while yet. We're working hard to find a vaccine, but we can't make any promises. We need to show solidarity in these tough times, band together, and we will beat it together. That's what they would fucking say. That's what anyone else would say. But Trump says it from the heart. There's a realness about what he says, and I just fucking love it. He finishes off.
But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there.
Yes.
Be careful.
Yes.
We have the best medicines in the world.
Exactly.
It'll all happen very shortly.
Get out there and be careful. And yes, the medicines, I'm reading so many headlines now about this vaccine being fast-tracked. There's a lot of smoke. There has to be some fire. Something is coming. Whether it's going to be effective, I don't know. But it looks like you're going to see something before the end of the year.
And the vaccines are coming momentarily. Thank you very much. And Walter Reed, what a group of people. Thank you very much.
So that is Trump's first little speech since he got out of Walter Reed Hospital, where he was sick with COVID-19. And so, yeah, I really like that speech. That pumped me up quite a lot. There's plenty of other CNN articles talking shit about Donald Trump, but I think you pretty much get the picture generally about what is going on with Donald Trump and Biden politically right now. So, yeah, I'm just going to call it an evening there, ladies and gents. I've got quite a good show for you next time. I'm getting a whole bunch of new tattoos, covering up my old school tattoos with some very colourful, vibrant, wicked stuff. So I look forward to showing you some of the decent Japanese tattoo artists out here in Japan and talking to you a little bit about my tattoos, or lack thereof, and the tattoo scene in general out here. And I'll tell you what, mate, you better be back for the next video. Otherwise, I'll be coming around your house. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, because that is what all those other cunts tell you to do. Laters.